It started with a small sound, the slow grind of garage door motor I didn't remember turning on. It was a Thursday morning, cool breeze coming in from the north, and I was sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of black coffee, reading the paper like I had done for 30 years. My wife, Evelyn, had passed 3 winters ago, and in the quiet of the mornings, the house still felt like hers. That garage was her pride, neat as a pin, a place she used to store her old gardening tools and a stack of paint cans from our endless home projects. When I heard the sound, I thought maybe the automatic open was malfunctioning. But when I stepped outside, what I saw made the coffee freeze halfway down my throat. A silver Lexus SUV was parked square in the middle of my garage, like it belonged there. For a moment, I just stood there, hands on my hips, trying to piece together what I was seeing. My truck was parked outside in the driveway, so there was room, but that didn't make this okay. I didn't recognize the car, but I sure recognized a woman climbing out of it. Karen. Now, most folks around the neighborhood called her HOA Karen behind her back, not because she was mean exactly, but because she treated the homeowners association like it was the Supreme Court. If a blade of grass leaned too far over a sidewalk, she'd take a picture. If your trash can sat outside past 8 a.m., you'd get a letter. She had an opinion on everything and believed it was her job to make sure everyone knew it. "Morning, Daniel," she said cheerfully, stepping out of the car in her pink jogging suit. "Hope you don't mind. The painter's redoing my garage floor today, and I just needed somewhere safe to keep my car for a few hours. You've got plenty of space." "Karen," I said slowly, "you can't just park in my garage." She gave a little laugh. "Oh, come on, don't be dramatic. It's just for a bit." It wasn't just that she'd parked there. It was a casual way she assumed she had the right. My wife used to tell me that entitlement is quiet until it's tested. That day, I finally understood what she meant. "Well," I said, "I didn't say you could." She waved a hand. "You weren't around to ask." Anyway, the HOA said neighbors should help each other out. The HOA again. That imaginary authority she always invoked. I didn't argue. I just turned, went back inside, and sat down at my table. The coffee had gone cold. Hours passed, and I watched through the kitchen window. Her car sat there all day. Evening came. The lights in my garage flickered from the motion sensor when she finally came to retrieve it. She didn't knock, didn't thank me, didn't even wave. Just backed out and drove off like nothing had happened. It would have been easy to let it go. But 2 days later, she did again. No knocking, no note, just that Lexus humming into my garage like it was her second home. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't angry, not in an explosive way younger men get. It was more like a slow tightening inside me, a need for boundaries. Evelyn always said kindness without limits turns into permission. I'd spent too long being polite to people who mistook it for weakness. So, the next morning, I went down to the hardware store, bought a new lock, solid steel, heavy as sin, installed it myself that evening, feeling her eyes watching from across the street. She didn't say anything for a few days. Maybe she thought I wouldn't notice if she parked somewhere else. Then, on the following Tuesday, while I was out mowing the back lawn, she must have noticed my truck gone from the driveway. She took her chance. When I returned, there was again the Lexus in my garage, door wide open like she owned the place. But this time, I didn't walk over to confront her. I looked at it quietly for a long moment, then lowered the garage door, slid the new lock in place, and went inside. That evening, I sat on my porch, watching the sun dip low behind the trees, the cicadas beginning their song. I thought about Evelyn again. She would have laughed at the absurdity of it all. "You're too nice, Dan," she would have said. One day, someone's going to mistake that for a green light. I poured myself a glass of sweet tea, looked at the garage, and said softly, "Not anymore." That night, I booked a trip, 2 weeks away, up to the mountains in North Carolina, to the little cabin I used to take Evelyn to in the spring. I needed space, peace, and maybe, just maybe, a bit of poetic justice. The morning I left, I checked the lock one more time. Her Lexus was still inside. I didn't feel guilty, not even a bit. I left her a note, taped on the outside of the garage door. Since you like parking here so much, keep it safe while I'm gone. Then I drove off. For 2 weeks, I didn't check messages, didn't call anyone. I hiked, read old books, and watched the sunrise every morning. There was something deeply healing about the silence, the kind of peace that makes you forget time exists. When I got back, the first thing I noticed was a small crowd gathered in front of my house. HOA members, a tow truck, and there, red-faced and fuming, was Karen. Her hair was a mess, her voice hoarse from yelling. "You can't just lock someone's car in your garage," she screamed as I stepped out of my truck. I walked up slowly, calm as ever. "You mean the garage on my property? The one you entered without asking twice?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Well, it was an emergency." 2 weeks is a long emergency," I said. The tow driver scratched his head, clearly amused. One of the HOA board members, a decent fellow named Greg, looked at me and said quietly, "Dan, we didn't know she'd been using your property without permission. She told us you'd offered." I turned my gaze on her. "Is that true?" Her face flushed crimson. "I might have said." Greg sighed. "Karen, we can't defend you on this. You trespassed." The HOA tried to smooth things over, but the damage was done. Karen didn't say another word. She paid the towing fee, took her car, and sped off without so much as a look back. After that day, she avoided me completely. For months, she'd walk her dog on the opposite side of the street. The letters from the HOA stopped showing up, too. It was as if she'd finally learned that boundaries aren't up for debate. Life settled again. The seasons changed. And one evening, I found myself standing in the garage, looking at the faint tire marks she'd left behind. I thought about how easy it is for people to mistake kindness for compliance, and how setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. When neighbors later asked what happened, I just smile and say, sometimes the best lessons come with a locked door. That story spread quietly through the community. People started pushing back when the HOA tried overstepping. A few even thanked me. I didn't do it to make a statement, but I realized something powerful. Standing your ground doesn't always require shouting. Sometimes it's the quietest actions that echo the longest. That night, I brewed a cup of coffee, stepped out to the porch, and looked up at the stars. Evelyn would have been proud. Not because I'd won anything, but because I'd finally learned the art of saying no. And in a world that often takes advantage of good hearts, that's a lesson worth locking in.